What's happening? Thanks for joining me on this hump day. It is very much appreciated. We'll get to the Celtics a little later, but we start with the Patriots offseason. The grades are officially in from ESPN. What am I talking about? Well, ESPN Analytics of the last 24 hours released their offseason grades for every team in the NFL. This was done by Seth Walder. Very, very deep analytically, as Seth does a lot of work for ESPN. And you might be surprised. Some of you might even be shocked that Walder actually graded the Patriots offseason as an A-. Gave the Pats an A- for their offseason. Obviously, a rather big fan of what Elliott Wolf accomplished over the past few months. Walder writes that the biggest move was drafting May. The move that he liked was signing Brissett. The move that he disliked was not signing a veteran guard. Don't quite get that one. They did sign a veteran guard. They signed Nick Leverett. Not sure why that's the move he disliked, but it is what it is. Here's what Walder wrote at ESPN Insider, ESPN+. The moves the Patriots made around drafting the rookie quarterback made sense for a team building toward reopening its contending window in 2025. So right off the bat, Walder is telling us he's not looking at this in the 2024 vacuum. He's looking at this as 2025. That's when the Patriots should be targeting as far as a contending window. He mentions Michael Wenu, Christian Barmore, Joshua Uche, Jacoby Brissett. Walder continues to write the Patriots drafted Jalen Polk and Javon Baker from the strong wide receiver class. Signing Chukwuezekorfor for just $4 million looks like a potential steal. Walder writes that Okorafor ranked 12th among tackles in pass block win rate last season. He then again mentions the guard spot, saying it looks like a potential weak point. Most importantly, the team has plenty of resources left. It has a lot of cap space in 2024, $47 million as of the writing, and 2025, they'll have $118 million in cap space. They are set up well to add more talent again next year. So Seth Walder, ESPN Analytics, gives the Patriots offseason an A-. What do you think? Is that too high? Maybe some of you say it's too low. Want your thoughts? Make sure you throw in a comment in the comment section as you're watching. Make sure you throw in a chat as well. Start the conversation with fellow listeners and viewers. Always a great thing to do. An A-. Is that a little bit too rich for what the Patriots did this offseason? I think it is. I think A- is too high of a grade. I appreciate ESPN, at least somebody in the ESPN vortex, liking something the Patriots did and giving them an A- for their offseason, but it's a little bit too high for me. Chukwuezekorfor, we'll have to wait and see. Now, by all accounts, including my guy Greg Bedard, who is the wet blanket most of the time, he actually liked what he saw from Okorafor at left tackle during minicamp. But we got to see when they put the pads on how they really look. Are you truly sold on Okorafor being this team's starting left tackle? So I do have some optimism given other people who watch the offensive line much more than I do, who understand offensive line play better than I do. Those people seem to like Okorafor so far in this process. So there is some optimism. But I'm not 100% sold that Okorafor is going to be the answer. I want to see when they have pads. I want to see training camp. I want to see the preseason. I want to see these joint practices. What does Okorafor look like under those circumstances? I'm not going to jump to conclusions based off of mandatory minicamp and sit here and tell you that Chukwuezekorfor is a no-doubt surefire left tackle. Even if he's not top 10, he's going to be very solid. I'm not going to tell you that. Not on June 19th. So some optimism, but the jury for me is still out. Patriots also did not land a wide receiver one. We went through this a couple podcasts ago. I don't think that's necessarily Elliott Wolf's fault that they did not get a wide receiver one. I don't think a true bona fide wide receiver one was available to them. I don't think there was one available in free agency. Calvin Ridley would be a one for this team, but I'm talking about a wide receiver one across the NFL. Ridley was paid like a top 5 receiver. We've had that conversation. Don't need to jump down the rabbit hole again. But beyond Calvin Ridley, which could be a debate, there was not really a wide receiver one out there in free agency. All of those guys stayed where they were. And as far as trades, we haven't seen it happen. Until I see a Brandon Ayuk get dealt or somebody else get dealt who is considered a true number one, it's tough to sit there and throw shots at Elliott Wolf. They also did not have an opportunity in the draft to bring in a wide receiver one. They try to trade up into the first round, draft a guy like Leggett, and Buffalo did not want to deal with them. So they were sitting there at 34. A.D. Mitchell, to me, in my estimation, my personal thought process, A.D. Mitchell was the only receiver that you could see as a true number one coming out of college. Most of those other guys were twos, the Ladd McConkeys, the Jalen Pokes. Those guys are more twos than ones. And A.D. Mitchell didn't get drafted until the early 50s, which tells you that there were some questions about things off the field, and there were some questions about his TikTok on the field. I understand all of that. But the fact is, you did not get a wide receiver one this offseason. That has to dock the grade at least a little bit. So left tackle, not totally sold just yet on Chooks. Wide receiver one, still waiting for one of those guys. Then you drafted Caden Wallace high in the 3rd round and said that you believed he was going to be a left tackle. Now, maybe this is a situation where the Patriots are happy with a core of 4, and they think a core of 4 is going to be able to hold his water at left tackle. So you move Caden Wallace to right tackle. You slide Michael Wenu back to right guard because you're just trying to find the 5 best offensive linemen. And I get that. But you drafted Caden Wallace with the thought that he was going to be a left tackle. And up until the point that he is going to be a left tackle, I have to look at that pick and wonder if you misevaluated the player. Now, hopefully, Wallace becomes a solid every day, every week right tackle, right? I'd rather have a starting tackle that works out for the next 7-8 years getting drafted in the 3rd round than somebody who you try to force a square peg in a round hole, put him at left tackle, he stinks, he's out of the league in 18 months to 2 years. But you drafted Wallace with the thought process that he was going to work at left tackle and he was going to get some work at left tackle. And so far up to this point, and this grade is being given out on June 19th, of course, we will change this grade as we move forward and get into July and get into training camp and get into those joint practices. But all I can do is evaluate the right now. And right now, Wallace is a right tackle. And you signed Michael Wenu to be a right tackle. So I got to dock some points on that. What is my grade? I'll get to that in a minute. Don't forget to give us that thumbs up. Every single thumbs up means the world to us as we try to build this community. These are the slow times, folks. Let's all be honest with each other. It's about 100 degrees outside right now. Hopefully you are staying cool. But it's the slower time. We're about a month away from training camp. I get it. But that means the likes mean even more. If you can give us that thumbs up, if you can comment, if you can subscribe, do those things. It helps this podcast grow. Always appreciate that. Rate and review Spotify and Apple Pods. What is your grade? Let's Go Logo. Solid B. So a solid B from Let's Go Logo. I agree. That's my grade. I give the Patriots right now, June 19th, as we've seen mandatory minicamp. We'll start ramping up for training camp in just a few weeks. But right now, I would give the Patriots offseason a B. I start with the quarterback. I love the pick at the time, and Drake May's progression, it's been there. I don't think you walk away from rookie minicamp and mandatory minicamp. I don't think you walk away in the middle of June feeling bad about Drake May at all. And if you do, you're just being a pessimist. You're being a skeptic. Everything we've seen from May since he's been on the field has shown us progression, taking steps forward, taking steps towards Jacoby Brissett. And we've said from the very beginning on this podcast, this has not changed. You get to training camp, what you want is a real quarterback competition. Not to say you want to start Drake May week 1, especially if the offensive line is a 5-alarm fire. But the idea is you get into training camp and you have a real, actual competition between Brissett in Drake May for QB1. That was the goal from the very beginning. From when he got drafted in late April to the middle of June right now, we've always talked about that. And that's where we're headed. May progressed enough to walk into training camp, as far as we know, ready to battle for that starting quarterback position. And that, to me, is a victory for the Patriots. And it's a victory for May. It's a victory for the coaching staff. May is exactly where you want him to be, maybe even slightly ahead of where you want him to be. Fantastic news there. Jalen Polk, your second-round pick. He got better as camp went on. Again, we understand it's really early. But your first-round pick, your future franchise QB, the biggest decision that you were going to make this offseason at number 3, May is progressing and is getting ready to battle Brissett in training camp. Your second-round pick, which you moved down and gained an additional pick later on in the draft, which led to Javon Baker. Your second-round pick in Polk, he progressed. Rookie minicamp through mandatory minicamp. Did a podcast with Bedard yesterday. Bedard loves Jalen Polk. It's like his favorite guy out of this minicamp process on the offense. So Polk continues to look like he's figuring it out. And as you get ready for training camp, I'm pretty confident that Polk is going to be at least the number 2 receiver on this football team. We get ready for week 1. He stays healthy. I think he is at least your number 2 guy. And I think he's going to have a productive rookie season. He is going to contribute right away. So Jalen Polk taking those steps, much like his quarterback teammate, makes me feel good about that pick up to this point. You also have to think about the Patriots and their signing of all the guys they brought back. The re-signing of, Owenu and Duggar. We've gone through it. Extending Christian Barmore, getting that deal done, which is important. Extending your best players. So the re-signing of the talent makes me feel good about the offseason. You did not want to drop back from where you were a year ago. Nick, they're only a 4-win team. I get it. You let the good players walk out the door. You're really starting from scratch, which is not what you want. So re-signing talent was good. I'll also bring up this guy. We have not talked a lot about him, but I do think it's an interesting note to mandatory minicamp. Jalen Hawkins. Keep an eye on Jalen Hawkins. I've noticed that more beat writers have mentioned Hawkins during their write-ups over the past, week or two. And Hawkins was getting some free safety reps during minicamp. Now, he's a guy that played for the Falcons. He played for the Chargers, the mid-round pick going back a few years ago. He was signed under the radar, one of those quiet one-year deals. But watch out for Jalen Hawkins. We spent all this time talking about free safety. Who's going to play free safety? You need more help on the back end of this defense. Go out and sign Justin Simmons, for example, who still hasn't signed, by the way. And we've been talking about free safety because it is a need. We saw Kyle Duggar is better, closer to the line of scrimmage in the box, and so is Jabril Peppers. We've been talking about free safety, wondering what was going to happen there. Who was going to play there? Could it be Marcus Jones? Could it be Jonathan Jones? If one of those outside corners, the young guys in Bolden and Austin, can one of those guys wrestle that position away from Jonathan Jones and allow the Patriots to slide Jones inside or on the back end of free safety? We had all these questions. We went into the draft wondering, will the Patriots use one of these picks on a defensive back that could play safety? People question, could Marcellus Dial be that guy after the Patriots drafted him as their only defensive player in late April? We had all these questions about free safety, and Jalen Hawkins might be the answer. I'm not telling you he's going to be, but he is somebody we should keep an eye on. Mike Giardi wrote about Hawkins at BSJ. The safety has gotten a fair amount of run with the big dogs and has yet to look out of place. He has some solid movement skills. Fourth safety with the potential to play free safety if they want a little more range. Lazar on Hawkins. Our guy Evan wrote this at Patriots.com. Hawkins had 25 career starts with the Falcons and Chargers. He's not a throwaway addition after signing as a free agent in March. The veteran safety could be the current group's Daron Harmon. playing deep safety in obvious passing situations to allow Duggar and Peppers to play closer to the ball. Duggar and Peppers will be the Pats' primary safety tandem, with Marte Mapu factoring in as a matchup-based piece. When the chips are down, Hawkins could give the Patriots a Chung, Harmon, McCourty feel. I'm not telling you that Hawkins is going to be a beast. Let's not go crazy here. But if he's a piece, if he's somebody that can play some free safety during the season and allows you to open up Duggar and Pepper's role and put them in more comfortable positions at certain times with certain circumstances, then that's rather a big deal. I mean, when you think about adding somebody who can play that Duron Harmon role, as Evan Lazar writes, if that is the role that Jalen Hawkins ends up playing, that's a pretty crucial piece to this defense, and it's a really great signing by Elliott Wolf. If Hawkins is playing 25, 30% of the snaps and not losing his ass at safety and allowing you more freedom with Duggar and Peppers, that's a home run one-year deal. So keep an eye on Jalen Hawkins. He could end up being a diamond in the rough. And all of a sudden you look back and you say, well, Hawkins can play some free safety. That is no longer a roster hole. And now you start to get into borderline embarrassment of riches in the secondary. Because if Hawkins can play that role, now you got Duggar and Peppers running around. You've got Jonathan Jones and Marcus Jones being able to, switch positions and give you some versatility. Alex Austin so far has had a good camp. So maybe Alex Austin wins that outside corner too. Maybe he gets that position. And now you're looking at the totality of this secondary, and it feels really good with Christian Gonzalez coming back. It feels great. So free safety was seen as a roster hole. Maybe they plugged the hole with Jalen Hawkins. By the way, training camp. Rookies showing up on July 19th. So a month away. Rookies will show up to training camp. Veterans show up on July 23rd, a few days afterwards. So we're only about a month away from training camp. And that's when we really get cooking. Can't wait for that. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. All three of those things doesn't cost you a penny. Helps this podcast tremendously. And also rate and review at Spotify and Apple Pods. All right, let's talk about some Jayson Tatum before we wrap up on this hump day. Hump day. I want to talk about JT in perspective. He turned 26 years old in March. Literally, like just 3 months ago, Tatum turned 26. It's outrageous to think about that he's only 26. He's been able to legally drink for 5 years. Kind of nuts. Tatum has played in 113 playoff games. Tatum's record in those 113 games is 68-45. It's about a 60% win percentage. 68-45. Do you know how many games Kevin Durant won in the playoffs through 113 games? Durant, through 113 playoff games, his record was 70-43. How about LeBron James? How many games do you think LeBron James won through 113 playoff games? LeBron James, 70-43. Very weird that LeBron and Durant had the same exact record through 113 career playoff games, but that's what happened. 70-43. So you've got Tatum at 68-45, and you've got KD and LeBron at 70-43. Jayson Tatum has won 2 less games than Durant and James did through their first 113 postseason contests. Tatum obviously won his title, his first ring, game 113. It took Kevin Durant 106 playoff games to win his first ring, and going to join the Golden State Warriors really helped that out because I think he won 13 straight games with the Warriors to help him get to that ring. So that was a tremendous run by that unreal Warriors team, which really kind of swings the momentum towards Durant. 106 playoff games, he wins his first ring. LeBron won his first ring in playoff game 115. So Tatum actually won a ring before LeBron won a ring. And he's 7 games behind Kevin Durant. That's how close we're talking here. Not too far away. NBA on Twitter posted this about Jayson Tatum. Tatum is the 6th player since 1980. The 6th player since 1980 to win a title while leading their team in points, rebounds, and assists in the playoffs. Only the 6th guy in the last 44 years to win a title while leading his team in points, rebounds, and assists throughout the playoffs. You know the other 5 guys? I've got the other 5 names. How about Hakeem Olajuwon? He was pretty good, right? I'd say Hakeem was pretty good. LeBron's pretty good. Jokic is pretty good. Tim Duncan was good. And the last name, Larry Bird. Jayson Tatum, to go along with Hakeem Olajuwon, LeBron James, Nikola Jokic, Tim Duncan, and Larry Bird, is one of only 6 players over the last 44 years to lead his team in points, rebounds, and assists throughout the playoffs and win a title. You want more? Tatum, one of 5 guys to score 30 points and drop at least 10 dimes in a title-clinching win in NBA Finals history. One of only 5 to put up 30 points, 10 assists in a title-clinching win in NBA Finals history. The other 4 guys to go along with Tatum, Steph Curry, Michael Jordan, James Worthy, Walt Frazier. Dick Leip posted this the other night. Tatum earned his first championship, only the 2nd Eastern Conference player to amass at least 30 points, 10 assists, and 8 rebounds in a finals game. Surpassed Robert Parrish to move into 6th place on the Celtics all-time postseason scoring list. Think about that. The Celtics have been around forever. Think about all the championships. Think about all the great players that have played for this franchise throughout the history of this franchise. Tatum, at 26 years old, is already in 6th place all-time Celtics postseason scoring. That is crazy. 6th place at the age of 26 with the history that the Celtics have, with as many postseason games that have been played throughout this franchise's historic run. He is the top playoff scorer, Tatum is, in NBA history among players 26 or younger. Tatum in perspective, when you compare him to some of the other current, truly great players in the league, he is accomplishing things in playoff basketball that those guys have accomplished. His numbers are pretty damn close. When you look at what he's done throughout his NBA career, he's played 7 seasons, okay? 7 seasons for the Celtics. Through his first 7 seasons, he's made 5 All-Star games. Durant made 5 in his first 7 seasons, just like Tatum did. LeBron made 6. Tatum has been named an All-NBA player in 4 of his first 7 seasons. Durant made 5 All-NBA teams in his first 7 seasons. LeBron made 6 in his first 7 seasons. How about rings? We always talk about rings nowadays. What about rings? Through 7 seasons, Tatum has a ring now. KD and LeBron had yet to win their first ring after playing 7 seasons in the NBA. This is why when we talk about Tatum, we talk about Jaylen Brown, we all get wrapped up in stuff, right? And a lot of people on the radio, a lot of people on TV across this country will tell you before Tatum and the Celtics won on Monday night that Tatum, he was doing something wrong. He wasn't as good as some of these other players. He hadn't won yet. What was wrong with him? Why didn't he win? And I was saying throughout that entire time, I was saying it on the radio. I was writing it at Boston Sports Journal. When you look at the long history of the NBA, the vast majority of the best players that have ever stepped on the court win their first ring at the age of about 27, 28 years old. I believe Steph Curry won his first at 26, just like Tatum did. But everybody wants it to happen now. We are in a do it right now world. If you don't do it right away, people are upset. You disappointed everyone. You haven't reached your potential. And I have been saying over the past couple of years, Tatum had until this year to make the move. This year was the year. And if they fell short, those conversations would have a little bit more meaning to them. Well, here we are. And he closed it out. And now you look back and you understand, to put what he has done in perspective, because a lot of people don't do it while they're in the moment. I tried my hardest to give people the context, but I do not have as big of a megaphone as some people do in the city of Boston. I certainly don't have as big of a megaphone as people have across this country on the radio and on TV. But as hard as I can try over the last few years to let people know what Tatum was going through was honestly a natural progression for a top NBA player. And I'm not telling you he's the best player in the NBA. He's not. But look back at the careers. Look back at the Jokic's. Look back at the Steph Curry's. Look back at the LeBrons and the Durants. Tatum winning his first ring by year 7, he is ahead of Durant. He's ahead of LeBron. And I gave you the numbers a few minutes ago. Only 2 less playoff losses through his first 113 playoff games as LeBron and KD had. So he wasn't behind. He was right on track. And I wrote that a month ago at Boston Sports Journal. I went through some of these numbers a month ago at BSJ, trying to tell people in the moment, this is not revisionist history. I went through the playoff wins and losses. I went through the statistics of their playoff careers. And my point of that column that I wrote for Boston Sports Journal a month ago was that Tatum was right on track. And if he won a championship this postseason, if he closed it out this year, he would be right there, if not ahead in certain aspects than some other greats that we've talked about. How about productivity? Well, Tatum's 24, 8, and 5 throughout his playoff career. KD and LeBron, they've scored some more points. There's no doubt. JT averaged 24 through his first 113. KD averaged 29 through his first 113. LeBron scored 28 and a half a game through his first 113. But that really comes down to shooting. The difference is those 3 or 4 times where, Tatum will settle or force shots, his step back threes and stuff like that. That's really the difference between the productivity of KD, LeBron, and Tatum. If Tatum can clean up 3 or 4 of those looks a game, he could be more efficient. Tatum shoots 44% from the field. KD was at just under 47%. LeBron just under 47%. And a crazy twist, LeBron and KD through their first 113 playoff games shot the exact same from the field, 46.8%, and had the same exact record in the playoffs, 70 and 43. That is strange. Tatum shoots 44% from the field throughout his playoff career. So if he just tweaked that efficiency a little bit, we would be talking about Jayson Tatum, LeBron James, and Kevin Durant throughout their first 113 playoff games pretty much being the identical player. Because Tatum is only 2 less wins than those 2 guys. And as far as the points, I gave you that. Tatum is right there with Durant rebounds and right there with James with rebounds. Tatum averages 8 rebounds a game in the playoffs. Durant's at 8. LeBron's at 9. Tatum averages 5 assists a game. Durant averages 4. LeBron is 6.6. And of course, that's because LeBron was a facilitator really from day one. Tatum has just grown into that role over the past couple of years. So there's not a whole hell of a lot of difference when I'm talking about just results and productivity. There's not a whole hell of a lot of difference when we talk about team play, championships, playoff wins, producing in the playoffs. There's not a lot of difference between Durant, LeBron, and Tatum through their first 113 playoff games. That's the perspective. That's what we should be talking about. Yes, Durant and LeBron are more efficient. The one more thing we've got to say, too, about Tatum is he has not missed a single playoff game in his NBA career. Tatum's durability is often overlooked, and it should never be overlooked. This guy wants to play every single night. He wants to play 82 games a year, and he doesn't miss playoff games. The only games, for the most part, that he missed this season were games that the team wanted him to miss towards the end of the year when they had everything wrapped up. Tatum and Jaylen Brown both embrace the challenge of playing every night. They want that. They love the game of basketball. There's not a lot of load management happening between the Celtics' best players and Tatum and Brown. There's certainly some load management with Kristaps, and I think we're going to see even more of that management over the next couple of years if he stays. But Tatum plays like every night. He hasn't missed a single playoff game. And you can say the same with LeBron and KD. LeBron did not miss a single playoff game through his first 113. And, KD missed 2. Again, very similar postseason track record between Tatum, LeBron, and Durant when you just look at record and you look at their productivity. And now Tatum has a ring by year 7. Durant and LeBron weren't just there yet. When you look at playoff games, very similar. LeBron, 115. Durant, 106. Here's the best note about all of this. It is simply unreasonable to believe that Jayson Tatum is going to remain at the same level he's at right now. It would defy logic if Tatum got worse over the next few years. He's 26 years old. He has improved every single year in the NBA, just like Jaylen Brown. The fact is, Tatum is now just walking into his prime. His prime is going to be between, 26, 27 years old and 33 years old. Somewhere in that mark, that 5-6 year stretch is going to be Tatum's absolute best. If you go off of history and if you anticipate him getting better, which I do. We haven't even reached prime Jayson Tatum yet. We just started prime Jaylen Brown. These guys are going to get better. Tatum is going to get better. So maybe, just maybe, those people who were freaking out about Tatum should take a deep breath and understand that in perspective, when you put everything into perspective, Jayson Tatum has done exactly what a young superstar should have done, if not more than what he should have done through his first 7 years. Fact, not opinion. I appreciate every single one of you. Don't forget to give us that like, comment, subscribe. Takes you a second to do those things. Doesn't cost you any money, but helps us a whole hell of a lot. Rate and review. Spotify, Apple Pods. I appreciate you. Back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Until then, this has been The Nick Cattle Show.